What's your revenge on a cheating spouse? So here's mine's. I found out from a friend that another guy was driving my car while I'm working. So the next morning I got up to go into work, but went to my friend's house to set the trap. I borrowed his car and waited at my apartment complex parking lot. About 1 hour later he exits my apartment and into my car. I followed and called 911 to report my car stolen. Told them that I was following the person. So it wasn't hard for the cops to catch him. So when the police pulled him over, keep in mind that I'm there too. And I'm on the phone with my ex telling her someone stole my car. But don't worry, because the police have him in custody. He proceeds to tell the police that he has promising from my ex to use the car. So the police calls her and she denies knowing the guy. Also, yeah, he got locked up and I moved out the same day. I went to pick up the last few things from her house. She had just started a 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. So I stole a single piece. Simmer down, Satan. My spouse cheated on me 25 times that I know about. How do I know this? Because she made a list of 28 names with dates and locations. I was number 3 and all 25 after me were while we were actively married. Granted, I knew she had been cheating. I was deployed 3 separate times between all of them. To say it was a toxic relationship was an understatement. I had a child with her, and so I stayed. The last person I actually caught her with in my bed was from my church. She always said, if I didn't do enter excuse, then she wouldn't cheat. I didn't even want revenge. I just wanted my kids and I to be happy. So when I caught her, I just said, you're done. And with the other man still in my bed, she said, if you leave me, I'll kill myself. Normally I'd say, please baby don't. It's not worth it. This time I just said, bye. Ever since then I've gained full custody of my 2 beautiful children. And I couldn't be more happy. So my revenge was just finally being happy, honestly. At least you had a witness to why she shouldn't have custody. The best revenge was success. I decided I wasn't going to fall into turmoil like I had before and instead kept my shit tight. Started applying to jobs a bit higher than my league. Got one. Moved away. And recently bought an engagement ring for someone worthwhile. Also, therapy. Instead of falling apart, I put myself together. Best one here. She cheated and then left town to go back to the base we were both stationed at before we both left active duty. After I filed for divorce, I rented a storage container, put her stuff in it, and paid for 1 month of storage, and mailed her a key, and said she had 1 month to come and get it, or it would be auctioned off. One of the boxes had a layer of her stuff she really wanted. 1 layer of every picture, note she sent me, mementos and our wedding album, and then another layer of more of her stuff. I then found out what day she was coming to get the stuff from one of our mutual friends. The night before, I drove back to our old base and hung out with friends. The day she came to pick up her stuff, she called me and asked if we could meet to talk about things. I told her no, since I was in her town, not mine, and that we never needed to speak again. Only time I've ever purposely made someone cry. I don't regret it. Edit. Forgot the word in. I told her no, since I was her town, not mine, and that we never needed to speak again. What does this mean? After my in-depth analysis of reading this a couple times, semicolon, she cheated and then left town to go back to the base we were both stationed at before we both left active duty. After I filed for divorce, I rented a storage container, put her stuff in it, and paid for 1 month of storage, and mailed her a key and said she had 1 month to come and get it, or it would be auctioned off. Semicolon. So they rented a storage container in said town that cheater left. Semicolon. I then found out what day she was coming to get the stuff from one of our mutual friends. The night before, I drove back to our old base and hung out with friends. Semicolon. Then they found out what day they knew cheater was going to town to pick up stuff. Semicolon. The night before, I drove back to our old base and hung out with friends. Semicolon. From what we understand, the base is not in town, so he's just made sure he's not in the vicinity. Semicolon. The day she came to pick up her stuff, she called me and asked if we could meet to talk about things. I told her no, since I was her town, not mine, and that we never needed to speak again. semicolon. From what I can conclude is that they meant something along the lines of I told her no, since it was her town, not mine, and that we never needed to speak again. Apostrophe, semicolon. She cheated on me at least 5 times with random dudes. I stayed for my beautiful, wonderful stepchildren. She eventually left me for some guy who got out of prison for child pornography. She's still with him. But it turns out laws on where sex offenders live are pretty strict in most states. I've gotten her evicted from her home 4 times and counting. My kids are with their grandma because I have no legal rights. But at least I know they are safe. It's sort of a hobby. Funniest thing I've read all day. While moving out, I didn't want to be destructive or petty, but my sister was helping me and she sure did. I didn't let her destroy any of his video games or DVDs, but he has minor OCD about them, so she opened all of them and put the discs all back in random cases, then put them all back on the shelf in random order. Then she hid a pair of thong panties in his bed for his mistress to find. And there was a disposable camera from I can't remember what that had a few pictures left on it. If he ever gets developed, he will be greeted by the sight of her asshole. My family is the best. Wait! Exclamation mark. Greeted by the sight of your sister's asshole? I'm confused. That's not revenge. It's an unexpected bonus. It was explained to me when I was in that if you're stationed overseas with a spouse and get divorced, the military will pay for their ticket back home for up to 1 year after the papers are signed. I was in Guam and the guy on my boat that me ex cheated on me with had to have back surgery in Hawaii. I found out that she went with him, so I immediately ran to the JAG and let them know, and he literally high-fived me that we didn't have to pay for that bitch's flight. Flights to and from Guam are expensive af. Go enjoy the girls at G-Spot. What is G-Spot? Strip club? That is pretty awesome. I have to say I'm a bit shocked she let the guy go to jail knowing she was basically busted. Op didn't tell her she was busted. Just that some dude stole his car and the police had him. If she knew her relationship with Op was over, she might have said she had given permission to keep the boyfriend out of jail. Or maybe she would have thought she would get in trouble for letting someone else use Op's car. Sounds like a fake story. Op would need to explain to the police why he was driving his friend's car and what alerted him to the theft taking place. If he lies in his testimony, he will be charged. I found another partner and we are happy and engaged. I don't care what my ex is doing or thinking about me. I still have bad feelings towards her and hate her guts. But I'm progressing on that as well. It takes time. Let them have the house, but put shrimp shells with a little bit of meat in them inside of the curtain rods. LMAO. This was a hilarious story. Damn, you just definitely made a dent on that guy's life. Grand Theft Auto follows you around forever. He'll never be allowed to buy a handgun in United States. And the fines and court fees are super expensive too. Well, maybe he shouldn't be driving around in cars he doesn't own then. I agree. Like what, ducking dick not only cheats, but also drives the car belonging to the BF of the girl you are cheating with. Fuck both of them. Living life well and eventual forgiveness. Listen to amateur hour over here. The real answer is B's. Is your ex-boyfriend Nicolas Cage? I remember one of my buddies, as a joke to get back at his ex, decided to buy using her credit card 50 packs of extra small condoms online and have it sent to their front door. The obvious joke being that her new fling had a small dick and couldn't satisfy her as much. She ended up calling the police on him because of this, and he ended up being forced to pay $5,000 in damages. I hate stories like this. Yes, it's shitty for the other person to involve themselves in a marriage, but he isn't the one in the marriage. The wife is. This reads like the ex had no repercussions at all, while she should been the only one to receive repercussions. It's one thing to be shitty, it's another to be shitty to the wrong person, when it was the ex that broke a contract. If he used her credit card without her permission, isn't that stealing? When I found out my ex-wife was cheating, we had a long talk and she was sorry blah blah. I told her I needed a couple of days to think. After a day or two, I told her that I would forgive her under one condition. She had to find me a woman to sleep with to make us even. After about a week she arranged for a friend of hers and I to meet for the weekend. I banged her all weekend, and when the ex went to work on Monday, I moved all my stuff and myself out and divorced her. I would never do this, but I enjoyed pretending I was a person that would while I read it. /you/goddamn pork chop, yours was my favorite comment. I'm basically garbage in human form, and I'm okay with that. But I take great pride in watching my very successful friends live vicariously through the shit I pull off. I can see it in their eyes when I tell them. If the question had been what's your revenge on a former boss, my story would have been much worse. Fuck her sister, lol. My man. That's what the ex said. Not my spouse, but I had a girlfriend cheat on me, so I ducked 2 of her friends. How did you manage that? Did you just tell her friends she cheated? I didn't mention that at all. When I found out that she cheated, I broke up with her. I always thought her 2 friends were attractive, but never made a move. They knew we weren't together anymore. I'm assuming she probably told them why. It's not like I dated them. It was a one-time thing with both. Cheating ex lead to all of our friends saying I abused her after we broke up due to her cheating. None of my friends believed her, and a few of her friends I met were skeptical enough to text me and ask. So one of her best friends, she had 2, who were sisters, texted me and asked me, so I told her the truth and she apologized for knowing and not telling me she was hanging out with other guys. I said it was alright and asked if she wanted to get a drink. We didn't, hooked up a few times that week and hung out at her house. Then a week or so later I ended up hooking up with her other best friend, who was the first best friend's sister. When my ex found out, she blew up my phone and apparently went to her best friend's house yelling at them from outside their house till the cops showed up and made her leave. TLDR, ex cheated, so I ducked her 2 best friends. Nice job, Jude. I ducked her other boyfriend. LMAO story, please see. Alright, story time I guess. So this happened almost a year ago. I know the post says spouse, but I'm 18. So she was my girlfriend at the time, and we had been dating for a little over a year at the time. The person she was cheating on me with was one of my best friends, and he and I both worked at a seafood restaurant over the summers, and had been for a couple years. I had been suspicious of those 2 having a thing going on for about a month, and I decided that after our shift ended, usually around 11:30 p.m, since we were closing, what usually would happen would be we would finish, smoke a joint out on the harbor, and then go home. He ran out to his car to grab a lighter, leaving his phone right on the wooden boardwalk thing, and I happened to know the password. I checked his messages with the girl, and just as I suspected, yup, they were banging. I confronted him as soon as he got back, and his response was essentially, why not form a love triangle? And, being high after, decided that it would be a spectacular idea to duck in the walk-in refrigerator, which actually got us fired. But hey, at least I learned I was bi that day. So for 3 months after this happened, I had both a girlfriend and a boyfriend, until we all started hating each other because we were constantly fighting for each other's attention. Semicolon. Moral of the story: don't try this at home, kids. I'm sorry, but it's hard not to think of revenge when you've invested so much in a relationship, lol. I'll never understand why people think they invest time in relationships like it's something that's going to pay off in the long run, or you're going to get something back out of it when it's over. You don't invest time in relationships, you spend time in them. It's like sports, you don't invest time playing a football game, you spend time playing it because it's fun and you enjoy it. Sometimes you win and everything's great, sometimes you lose and you're pissed, but it's how you choose to spend your time, not an investment you're looking to get something back out of. Money is a representation of how you spend your time. The return in how you spend your time isn't quantified in currency, but in the realization of the promises of companionship and loyalty. Changed all the movies in his Netflix queue to movies about cheating, then gave 5 stars to all the chick flicks I could find in the romance genre, so they would constantly be suggested for him in the future. How do I do this? Well, apparently mine was to fake an attempt to reconcile with her, make her do things like cut off contact with the ex, be honest with me, and tell me the entire extent of the affair. Tell her parents as they thought I was beating her all the time. cut off contact with anybody else who encouraged or knew about the affair and didn't tell me. When I realized that I basically had to force her kicking and screaming to do these kind of things, I decided that I needed to work on me more than I needed to force somebody to do something they didn't want to do. However, since leaving she has actually started to make an effort. I'm currently the belief so that I need some time by myself, so it's not an option getting back together. You'll be so proud of yourself for not getting back to her. Maybe not today nor tomorrow, but very, very soon. Mate, stay strong. Do all the things you wanted to do, but couldn't because you were on a relationship. Travel. Regain contact with old pals. You've got this. Ticket to Asia is in the works. Just figuring out where, when and how long. Started to do more woodworking and actually donate some time to getting good at it. And just finished my coaching course where next fall I'll be coaching my youngest soccer team. Never had time for 5 before. Or at least that's what we told me. This sounds like a Lifetime movie. I love it. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.